Here we go. All right. Well, welcome everyone to Neighboring 101. This is a bonus edition on Groundhog Day. Uh, Bonus edition, but still session number 77 of Neighboring 101. And this is where we talk with leaders and researchers and authors from all across the United States in the neighboring movement, all in an effort to discover ways that organizations and individuals can use the art and skill of neighboring for both personal and community development and improvement. So thank you for joining us today. I know we've been answering some other questions in chat about where you're from, but we always try and start with the question to create a little connection before we get into the content. Um, so if you would, you're welcome to unmute and answer this, but you may just rather put it in chat. Do you feel like you matter to the people who live closest to you? Do you feel like you matter to the people that live closest to you? Just a yes, no, or unsure. Yes, no, or unsure. What's the consensus? We have a few that do, probably some that this I would expect to see a lot of yeses out of this group actually, because you're committed to connecting with those around you. And this is connects with our topic today, of course. Let me give a plug for at the end of the month, our regular class of Neighboring 101. Just a reminder, we're always on the third Thursday of the month. This is a bonus edition. At the end of the month, we'll be hearing from Jeff Pishney. He's the author of this book, Love Your Cities, but more importantly, he's the kind of the creator of this Love Your Cities campaign. It's a citywide volunteer day that's meant to unite and transform your communities. We're actually implementing that in my hometown of Republic, Missouri this year. So he's going to be our guest to talk to us about how that can transform your community. But today the topic is mattering, and if you've not, I know several of you have messaged and said you've already read this book. I mean, you got it and got on it, and I have too. But I had an early copy, so I had a little bit of an advantage to some of you. Uh, but today our guest on this bonus edition is Jennifer Wallace. That's her new book that's come out, Mattering, The Secret to a Life of Deep Connection and Purpose. Um, Came out last week, I think, right? At the end of the week, I believe. So it focuses on that universal human need to feel valued and to offer value. And I will say it's one of this book's greatest strengths is its accessibility. Translates difficult, challenging psychological concepts into an easy to read, easy to access book. And I would really credit Jennifer's background uh, in accomplishing that. She has a background as a journalist. She um, worked at 60 Minutes on some programs for 60 Minutes. She's also written for major papers like the Wall Street Journal and the Washington Post. And I think that is part of why this book is so accessible. She also has a background uh, in psychology a little bit, in that she does some work with the app Calm, if you've ever seen that, some maternal mental health advocate on Calm. She's also a consultant at Netflix and with BCG, Bright House Luminary, and she's done some work with Lego looking at play as well. So from young children to adults, she's covered it all. I will say that this book has an investment of a lot of time. She invested 6 years and over 200 interviews to write it. And we get access to her today for 1 hour to tap into her knowledge and to learn more about this topic of mattering and how it relates to our work in communities throughout the United States. Jennifer, thank you for joining us from New York City, long ways away, but close via Zoom.
Well, thank you all so much for being here on this bonus meeting.
Bonus edition. Yeah, that's right. What's the early word on the launch of your book? Has it gone well, or you gained a lot of interest?
Yeah, it exceeded all expectations.
Well, that's a good thing to have happen. Excellent.
Really nice thing to have happen in this world, which I think is doing the opposite globally of exceeding not meeting expectations. So that it
Yes.
was good. It was good.
Well, I certainly wrote a glowing book review about it myself on my Goodreads
Oh,
and
thanks.
blog, and I'll share that with those on the group. And hopefully, this you'll be inspired after this to find a copy of the book. It's on Audible and on Amazon and booksellers nationwide, and grab a copy. It's a good read. So let's really just start there at the very beginning. Jennifer, can you define what is mattering?
Yeah. So mattering is not my idea. It's been studied in academia since the 1980s. And it is a fundamental human need that we all have to feel valued for who we are deep inside and to have a chance to add value to the world around us. So, mattering to ourselves, to our family, friends, colleagues, neighbors, wider
Hmm,
society, and also to have a chance to add value back across those domains.
that's a practiced definition that covers a lot of territory.
A lot of territory. I mean, it's so just to take it a little further. So the researchers who study it call it a meta need or an umbrella term, which captures things like belonging, connection, mastery, self-determination, purpose, meaning. So I'll give you an
Hmm,
example. You can belong, but it goes deeper than any one of those. So you could belong to a neighborhood, um, you know, Chester Avenue, but not feel like you matter to the people in that neighborhood. You can belong there, but not feel like you matter. And so, what I love about mattering is that it takes all of our human needs that we know of and it kind of supercharges them. It sort of raises the bar.
yeah. Well, you're right. It's not a term that I was really familiar with, and so that's part of why I found the book so enthralling and educational because it was certainly a new idea, but it connects with a lot of different things, and
Yeah.
especially sense of belonging. We talk about that a lot with neighborhoods. So I admit the first time I came across the topic was reading your book, but how did you first come across the concept of mattering?
So my first book, I was looking to see if I have a copy of it. I don't. My first book I wrote, published 2 years ago, called Never Enough, which was about It was about the youth mental health crisis. And what I was finding that so many young people today um, only feel like they matter when they have a high GPA or a low weight on the scale or a certain number of likes. So all of their sort of sense of
Mm,
worth and value um, was pegged to something external and they did not believe in their inherent worth as people. And so, that's where I discovered this idea of mattering. And what I was hearing in my conversations with families was how many times parents felt like they didn't matter, whether they were educators who felt unappreciated for what they did, doctors who felt crushed by the workload, first
mm.
responders, anyway, lawyers, accountants, people feeling like cogs in a wheel. And what I've come to understand is that if we want to make a dent in the youth mental health crisis, we need to go upstream and take care of the adults in their lives who are struggling at equal rates, according to new research.
Well, everyone talks about busyness. You hear that. That's practically how we introduce ourselves. Hi, I'm
Mm-hmm.
David Burton and I'm busy. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's just sort of a American characteristic, it seems like. So I guess that is probably a contributing factor, what I'm hearing you're saying.
Yeah. So the way I think about busyness is I think we are right that we are entirely too busy with too much input in our daily
Mm,
lives and too much output being demanded of us. And so I think one of the big barriers to mattering, both feeling it ourselves and also fostering in others, is the idea that we're so distracted. Um, so I think that is a big barrier. The other big barrier that I see, and I'm sure you discuss this in your meetings, is what Robert Putnam in Bowling Alone found, which is over the decades. Um, when I was growing up, mattering was baked into daily life. I mattered to my
mm,
neighbors. They relied on me to feed the goldfish when they were away. I relied on them if I got locked out of my house, where I could, on a cold day, I could sit on their kitchen, sit in their kitchen, wait for my mother to come home. And, we knew our neighbors. We belonged to religious institutions where we felt that sense of mattering. We belonged to bowling leagues. Workplaces generally had a social contract in place where if you were loyal, they would be loyal back and give you a pension. Those daily reminders of our mattering have eroded. And instead, it's been replaced by doom scrolling on our couches, and feeling isolated. So we are really disconnected from the signals of mattering, which is partly why we feel like we don't matter.
Yeah. Well, you're talking to the choir here in this group. That's so you're right. That's a lot of what we talk about, the importance of joining and social capital, uh, the distraction of social media, and really the disconnect that creates. So, I mean, this is in our wheelhouse, what you're saying. Part of why I found the book so fascinating. You do argue in the book that the human need to matter is almost as important as food and water to our well-being, and that's really going unmet today. But are there some other reasons why it's going unmet, you think, or is it this?
I think there are lots of reasons it's going unmet. I think another major reason it's going unmet is that as a society, again, over the past several decades, our values have changed. So the way that we organize our lives does not give us kind of the fertile soil for mattering.
Mm,
So we our values have become off balance. We are a very hyper capitalistic, materialistic world, only more so, I think, than we've ever been. And some of the research that I have found so fascinating, in studying mattering and what can get in the way of mattering is this idea of how our values impact our well-being. So researchers who study values say that no matter where we live in the world, we all roughly have the same core values, and they separate them into extrinsic values and intrinsic values. Extrinsic values are things like wanting the high status job, wanting a certain image, wanting materialistic goals, the big house, etc. Intrinsic values are things like wanting to be a good neighbor, wanting to be pro-social, good to the environment, wanting to grow as a person. Values operate like a zero-sum game. So the more time and energy you spend in your life pursuing those extrinsic values and goals, the less room you have in your life for pursuing the intrinsic ones. And here's why this matters,
mm.
because extrinsic values are linked with negative mental health and substance abuse disorder, whereas intrinsic values are linked with the well being we want for ourselves and for our families and the people we care about. And it is through the intrinsic values that we meet this sense of mattering. It's through the extrinsic values that we meet what I call the fool's gold of mattering, kind of a false sense of mattering, that you only matter if, you only matter when. And that is not true mattering. So I think our values have also eroded mattering, or the conditions for mattering.
We've made some trade-offs there, haven't we? And it's not a good trade
Mm-mm.
in the
It's
long
not a good
run.
trade. It's not a good trade. And I think it's something we don't talk enough about when it comes to social media. Um, that social media is not this, yes, it's a new technology, but what it is doing, it is activating things that we know. It puts us at risk, puts our youth at risk, I think, because it is in part activating those extrinsic values. So it's not like people in America don't have good values. It's that these extrinsic values are constantly being activated in the media, on social media. I think that's a conversation that we're not having enough. And when we
That's a
talk about what is the pathway between social media and harming mental health, I think it is the excessive focus on extrinsic values.
that's an excellent definition of that or description of that. I've seen that myself. I was an early adopter of Facebook. I mean, I was on Facebook so early, most people around me didn't even know what it was, right?
Mhm.
And my account still exists, but my wife has my password. I am not on Facebook anymore. But I could see that, I could feel that in myself because everyone posts their epic highlights, right? And during the summer, you're scrolling like, well, everybody's on vacation. I'm
Right.
not on vacation. Dang, I'm missing out. My life stinks. And
Mhm.
I could just see that in myself.
Mhm.
I I have to say, I don't feel like I've missed a beat by being off of social media, but that may be a, a preachy subject for another time for everybody. But yeah, it has negative consequences. Sure does. Um, so research, um, this lack of mattering can manifest itself in some negative mental health conditions and behaviors within the culture. That came through loud and clear in your book. Do you want to elaborate on any of those? On maybe
Sure.
what you see, what those are?
So, first, when we feel like we matter, we show up to the world in positive ways. We contribute. We want to connect with people and engage, make the world a better place, use our gifts, live a
Mm,
purposeful life. When we feel like we don't matter, we can withdraw, become anxious, depressed, turn to substances to try to alleviate that psychological pain of not mattering. There's a study that I quote in the book about suicidal men. And researchers found the two words they most often used to describe their suffering was useless and worthless. Those are the words of anti-mattering. Those are the words of feeling like you don't matter.
mm,
Researchers have found we can act out in destructive ways, road rage, mean online attacks, shootings, political extremes can be looked at as desperate attempts to say, I'll show you I matter. And what I point out in the book is as we head into a world that's going to be filled with AI, and Bill Gates has predicted that within the next few years, humans will not be required for most tasks. What does it mean to matter when you are no longer needed to add value? So I have real concerns about mattering in the age of AI, but I also have some hope. I am hopeful that hopefully AI can help us offload some of the just tremendous inputs that are coming, and we can offload that so that we can spend more time connecting. I was recently on a road trip with my husband. We had taken that road trip 25 years ago, and I remember 25 years ago we were using maps and plotting out where the bathrooms were and where were we going to get snacks and all that. Fast forward 25 years later, we put the location on Google Map, and we had the most delightful conversation because we could go deep with each other. So that's what I'm hoping, that we can learn how to use AI so that it serves us, and it allows us to have more bandwidth and time to invest in relationships.
here, here. That would be a great use of it
Right?
for
That's
sure.
my hope. That's my hope.
Um, and so, what are some of those ingredients? You mentioned that researchers have discovered ingredients to mattering. Um, if we're making that recipe, is it just time together, as you described in the car, or
No, it's not just time together. So, as we all know, you could be spending a lot of time with somebody and not feel like you matter to them. So, researchers have since the 80s found these critical ingredients, and I put them into a framework that I call SAID, SAID. It's feeling significant, feeling appreciated, feeling invested in, and feeling dependent on. So these are the said framework is how we come to feel like we matter, but also how we can foster it in others. So I could quickly go through them and give you some examples.
yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so significance or importance is this idea. What I found so fascinating in my interviews when I asked people, name a time, and I did a lot of in-person interviews, but then I also conducted an international survey of 2,000 people. And I asked them to name a time when they felt like they mattered. And it was never, a toast at my 60th birthday or winning an award
Mm,
at work. It was never the big moments that they talked about. It was the small everyday moments. It was someone saved them a seat at the table at a dinner party. It was a neighbor coming over with a pot of soup when they were sick. It was a colleague checking in after a particularly rough day at the office. So it was we crave as humans to matter in the mundane, to feel like we are a significant, important part of the world around us. And it doesn't mean, being the Queen of England. It means that I am a priority in somebody's mind. Somebody is thinking of me. Feeling appreciated, the next ingredient, I've come to think of it as appreciating the doer behind the deed. So, let's say you have a friend who is so good at getting the group together. You they're
mm,
always planning events and dinners and barbecues, and instead of saying to them in a text the next day, "Thanks for planning such a fun event," a way to foster a sense of mattering might be to say, you bring us so much closer together. If it weren't for you, we would not be this cohesive. You are the glue. Thank you for all the time and energy. We are so lucky to have you. So again, appreciating them for who they are, not just what they do. Feeling invested in is having people in your life who are invested in your goals and well being, who are there to encourage you, to support you through setbacks. And it's the idea that you have people in your life that you are invested in, that you want the best for. And then dependent on is
mm.
knowing that there are people in this life who rely on you, that the world would be less good. You would be missed if you weren't here. It's the idea that we are not, it's the sort of psychological security that we are not going through this world alone.
Yeah, we hear that a lot of times, even some of the questions, a primary question that's asked, like of churches and their community. If you close today, would anyone miss you, the church?
Mm.
And sometimes that's applied even in neighborhoods for ourselves. If you left today, would anyone know you were gone? That's kind of a negative approach, I guess, to that question, but it's getting to the heart of really what you're saying there on that last part, at least.
Absolutely. The researchers call it noted absence. This idea that we crave to be, I mean, when we think about the evolutionary underpinnings of mattering, which I believe and researchers believe there are evolutionary reasons that we have evolved to long to matter. Um, because to our earliest ancestors, we, being a part of the group, being valued by the group was critical to our survival. Whereas being pushed aside, being
Mm,
unwanted, not valued, really meant certain death. So we are wired to want to matter to the group. And when we don't matter, that is a really painful, painful signal.
yes, yes. Well, Laura Mize knows that I love the movie It's a Wonderful Life, so she has to throw a comment in here about to live in such a way that if you weren't there, you'd leave an awful hole.
Yes, exactly.
So it is some choices that we make ourselves. We can certainly do things that help contribute to this, that help increase our mattering. Um, it doesn't just all land in our lap. Um, Certainly, we have to make some choices about how we interact with people and get involved and build those connections.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. We have agency, I say, when it comes to our
Mm,
mattering. That I mean, first it begins with mattering to ourselves, um, and believing that our needs are worthy of being met, which can be hard for people in caring professions, or women who are socialized to put everyone else's needs above their own. This idea of really learning how to matter to ourselves, to tune in, tuning in, attunement is what psychologists call it, tuning into our own needs and tuning in to the needs of others is a critical component to fostering mattering.
I really appreciate again, your journalistic background and the ability to kind of boil this down in simplistic, understandable terms for us. That's a real talent, and I appreciate that. Your journalistic background's coming through very loud and
Uh,
clear. Um, so, how can we learn to recognize what a lack of mattering looks like in our own lives? What about in the lives of our friends or colleagues or loved ones? How can I learn to recognize that lack of mattering?
yes. Oh, someone wants to make a comment.
Yeah, not sure on that code. Yeah, you can take yourself off
Hi,
mute.
thank
Hi
you.
there.
Thanks for
Yeah,
letting me say something. I wasn't sure if I should
Yeah.
wait till the end or
no, jump on in.
okay. Well, when you were all talking about mattering before, I was just thinking about my little neighborhood here, and I walk the dog a lot. I think one of the best things to do is have a dog to
Mhm.
learn how to be a good neighbor. And I will talk to people, who are outside, if it sometimes you can tell when people are too busy. But, in addition to that, chatting with people and that builds up over time. If there's people around, I do things like a piece of someone's mail is on the street. It fell out of the mailbox. I'll knock on the door or it's if I'm walking late at night and their garage door's open, I'll knock and let them know because they don't want it open.
Mhm.
Or Oh, there's a couple other examples like that. I can't that I'm drawing a blank right now. Their trash can is down the street, and I'll move it up to their house and stuff. And sometimes when you do things like that, or let somebody know that they seem like they're in shock. They're not used to people doing that. It's almost like I feel like they think I'm a weirdo or something. But this may be
It-
old news to everybody, but it almost seems to me, I'm 67 years old, that the uh, the rubric of how to behave around people, the urban one where you don't make eye contact and you mind your own business, has extended it everywhere, even to little small towns and small neighborhoods. I mean, people are shocked when you initiate a conversation with them, and that can make you give up. If
Mhm.
but I'm used to feeling embarrassed, humiliated, and uncomfortable, so I keep doing it. But anyways, that's all I wanted to say.
I would call that social courage, which I love too. And it's much to my children's chagrin. They're embarrassed by my social courage. But I too am someone who neighbors. I mean, part of mattering and researching this book is is feeling like I mean, I was raised Catholic, have a difficult relationship with the Catholic Church, but the teachings and the ethos and Jesus as a spiritual leader has, shaped my worldview that we are all neighbors. And so anyway, I share, Paul, your cringy neighborliness. So no, you're not alone in it. Um, David, you had asked about some questions we could ask ourselves about
Yeah,
mattering.
yes,
Um,
yeah. I
so
was,
in the back of my book, I have an appendix that I call a mattering assessment. Do you want me to do it quickly? Do you want to take this assessment? It's you would I would ask you 5, 10, 15, 20 questions, and you would just rate them on a scale from 1 to 5. How much you, so one would be, I mean, honestly, this one I decided not to use 1 through 5. So maybe just think about it in a reflective way instead of reading yourself.
yeah,
Read
yeah.
them quickly.
Uh, maybe quickly. I know we'll have lots of questions, and I know your time is limited too. So we might.
All right,
Um,
I'll do 2 questions of each domain.
okay, that'd be fine.
All right, great. So mattering to myself. Um, I acknowledge and value the positive impact I have on the world. And here's another one. I understand my inner world and respond to myself with compassion. Mattering to family and friends. My presence and contributions are noticed and valued by the people close to me. My loved ones are genuinely invested in my happiness and success, just as I am in theirs. Mattering at work. I have someone at work who is invested in my growth, and I have someone at work who knows me well. And then mattering to society, I believe my voice or actions make an impact in my community or society. I feel that society understands, values, and responds to my needs with care, dignity, and respect. Oh, and I like this one. I feel invested in the broader world and trust that in its own way, the world is invested in me.
There's a bit of a scorecard that comes with that, I think, that helps you to kind of, or you're wanting to be able to have an affirmative answer to
Yeah, I
as
think
many of
you're
these as
wanting to,
possible, right?
when you look through all those assessments, I mean, our sense of mattering is not fixed. So it's always in flux. And so just kind of reflecting on the ways that we feel valued and we add value in different domains can point us to the areas where we might want to spend a little more time firming it up.
Yeah. Well, neighborhoods are certainly an easy place to develop that mattering. I can do something every single day that impacts a neighbor or my neighborhood.
I,
Not so,
I
no,
live, well,
no, go ahead.
I live in New York City, and I moved into my building 18 years ago. Yeah. And it's on the Upper East Side, very private people. When I first moved in, I asked if there was like a directory of people who lived in the building with emails, and they were like, "Of course not. We have very important people in this building." What does that even mean? What? So I joined the board, and I will tell you, 18 years later, we are a really warm building. We When someone passes away, we let everyone know. We send obituaries. When someone has a baby, when there are milestones, we are no longer that private close your door. And actually, my elevator bank is filled with, I was the first young family to move in. And then after me, within 3 years, like five other young families moved in. And we created this like big group chat where it's snowing and who has size 8 snow pants. I don't care what color. Or my son was going to a sleepover and I asked him 20,000 times, "Do you need a sleeping bag?" He's like, "I do not." Well, an hour before, he was like, "I need a sleeping bag." And so I email all the neighbors and we got him a hot pink sleeping bag. And so that was what he went to the boys' sleepover with, his hot pink sleeping bag. But it's like this idea that we have created or the printer doesn't work. Who can print out this paper or this form for me? Or so there are lots of anyway, it took 18 years to really foster this and to prove that there was a want of
Mhm.
community here.
And that social connection, though, has so many benefits to
So
the
many
building and to
benefits.
the families. I appreciate Paul's comments earlier, but and he talked about being a good neighbor, but we've seen in our own research that being a good neighbor now means being quiet
Exactly.
and leaving your neighbor alone. That's what it's come to mean in the culture, and that's not a good place to be. That doesn't build up social capital or connection,
Mm.
as you've been talking about. I notice a question here from one of today's attendees about chapter 3, mattering too much.
Yes.
This is tricky, being attuned to your needs when being central to others.
Yes.
Um, could you explore that a little bit more about mattering too much?
Yeah. So it was interesting in my interviews with a diverse group of people, whether it was firefighters or it was Fortune 100 women in C-suites or people being caregivers of elderly parents
Mhm.
or parents of young children, that they felt like they mattered so much, but their needs were never prioritized. And that is not true mattering. True mattering is balancing our own needs with the needs of others. And that is hard work. I'm not saying that's not hard work.
Mhm.
And so, two things stand out in terms of solutions when you feel like you're mattering too much. One is to notice it, to tune in to yourself, and to start noticing what you need. And there's a practice since researching mattering for the past 7 years that I've instituted in my own life, which is every morning when I'm brushing my teeth, I ask myself, what is one small need I need to fill today so that I can show up as my best self for the people who depend on me? It could be I want 45 minutes in silence having my tea. I've come to think of it as grandmothering myself, not mothering myself, grandmothering myself, like giving myself the extra piece of chocolate, the delicious tea, the coziest blanket, and just sitting and spoiling myself for 45 minutes. Or maybe it's a day like I had the other day where I needed to get on the phone with my sister for a half hour. Or maybe it was taking a walk with a friend. So, or like literally one day, the need was, I can't find any of my makeup in my house. It's all over the place. I'm going to spend 30 minutes and track
Mhm.
down all my makeup and put it in one area and use pretty cups that I've gotten, like my kids' old, like when you give birth to a child and they give you like these fancy silver cups that no one ever uses. Well, I now use them for makeup brushes. I've decided I'm going to make these little personal shrines for myself. So just what is that like one small need that you can fill in
Mhm.
yourself? And then the other thing for when you matter too much is this is a research that was conducted at the Mayo Clinic and it has since been replicated. And it's this idea, just I'll tell you quickly, and you could do this in your neighborhoods is it was a study of busy physicians who were also mothers who were reporting low levels of well-being, and this has been replicated with men and also virtually. Low levels of well-being, high levels of stress. So researchers conducted a small intervention where 1 hour a week they would get together in groups of 5 or 6 to support one another, to feel seen and heard. And after the 12 weeks, not one physician dropped out. They reported higher levels of well-being. Their stress hormone, the cortisol levels had dropped. So, what is it about meeting for 1 hour a
Mhm.
week that brings this kind of resilience and well-being and balancing our mattering to ourselves? It is that we are prioritized. For 1 hour a week, this small group prioritized each other. They said, your needs and well-being matter to the group. So, I've taken this finding and I've implemented it in different ways in my life. So, one way I've done it is someone invited me, and I actually think this is a great framework for getting small groups together. A group of very busy women who were craving a book club but couldn't commit to reading a book once a month said, let's pick an in depth article and gather in each other's kitchens and talk about the article, and then it inevitably spills out into our everyday lives. But for one lunch a month, we sit in each other's kitchen. Whoever is hosting the event is sort of the grandmother. She is feeding us, she is making sure every need is met in that time. It is the most delicious cocooning feeling. And the idea is that we all prioritize. We are busy women, but when we have to miss it for something because we're traveling or we're sick, we feel so sad to miss it, and we are so missed. So there is this being prioritized, our needs being prioritized. We don't need to be the priority every day. We need to prioritize ourselves in a small way every day, but to create those relationships that remind us that we matter too.
Certainly be health benefits to that, lowering cortisone levels, stress. There's positive health outcomes for that besides pers psychological impacts. Deanna, I have a coworker that has initiated lunch dates virtually since we're all remote workers.
Love that.
Yeah, really miss being connected. That is one of the challenges of being remote. Speaking of work, you mentioned earlier about the rise of AI and corporate consolidation and things of that nature. So, a lot of employees don't feel like they uh, matter and they are disengaged from work. How can companies help them understand their effort is valued?
Yes, I have a whole chapter in the book on mattering at work. Um, I think one of the most important things we can do, and this is not just in the workplace, but really anyone in our lives, is to connect people to their impact. So, saying to the people that you work with, the people that you lead, the people in your neighborhood, the people in your family, like if it weren't for you, dot, 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 if it weren't for you, this deal wouldn't have happened. Had you not done this or that, I went and I visited a nonprofit where they had a wall, they had a sign on the wall that said, tell someone how they made a difference. And
Mm,
it was specific things. It was, to John in accounting, had you not stayed and worked all weekend and combed through our budget, we wouldn't have found the money that we did to keep that family in their apartment. So your efforts saved a family from the trauma of homelessness. So we are again, because we are so distracted, we are disconnected to our impact. So if you're working in a workplace, let's say you're in a leadership position, think about connecting the dots. Think about the employee. What is their impact to their colleagues? What is their impact to the bottom line? What is their impact to society? Making this clear, connect the dots for people. That is how we know we matter.
and I would assume when you feel like you matter, you put in probably more productive work time, probably better, more longevity that would come with that as well.
Well,
You're going to have a better employee.
what we know from data from the Great Places to Work and Gallup and all of these people that study work cultures is that engagement is the number one indicator of high performance. And what fosters engagement is knowing that you and your work matter.
Mm,
And what fosters disengagement is a coping strategy for feeling like you don't matter. If you don't matter at work and you don't have agency or a voice, what can you do? How can you cope? The only way you could cope is to pull back, to disengage, to quiet quit, to try to alleviate that pain.
mm. Yeah, we see that all around us. Um, well, I want to be sure that
Oh,
people,
Patty is waving a hand.
yeah, okay, Patty, just I was going to say, well, I want to be sure we have some time to let some attendees ask questions here as well.
Right.
So just take yourself
I
off.
got a st- I've just got a statement real quick.
Okay, Patty from Springfield, Missouri.
I love your presentation. Love your presentation and everything you've said today about mattering.
Thanks,
I
Patty.
try to approach each person I meet as if they're wearing a sign that says "Help me feel valued."
Mm, I
Patty is a
love that.
long time advocate in her neighborhood
Mm.
in middle part of Springfield, Missouri. So
Patty, I have in the back of my book, I have how I've come to picture everyone I meet, strangers, family, friends, with a sign around their neck saying, tell me, do I matter? And
Oh, that's awesome.
that we can all answer that, even just with a smile or eye contact, just radiating warmth to them, not even necessarily having to talk to them, but just not being cold to them.
So what was
well,
Patty's question again? That she
she just
said they
she
wore
wanted to
around
How
her
make a
neck.
I approach each person I meet. I try to approach each person I meet as if they're wearing a sign that says "Help me feel valued."
Helped me feel valued.
Mm.
that's a good way to look at
Thanks,
people.
Patty.
Some others that may have questions. This is a chatty group usually, and I see several on here I'm sure has have a question, but they're being shy. Jump on in. This is your chance. Don't make me call you out.
So I live in an apartment complex. I moved there in April, and we came from a neighborhood that was very community organized. There's a lot of people that, will walk the streets and stuff like that. I see my neighbors more, but kind of to what people have been talking about is everybody's got their head down. Nobody really looks like they want to be bothered. I've tried to engage with some people, but I've also kind of, to some of these people's point, had that, just dismissive, go away, shut the door kind of a deal. What would you do in a situation like that where you're trying to improve community in a whole building?
Yeah, I would. Does your building have a board? Is there somebody?
No, there's a management company, but we don't have a board.
No
So
board. Um, I mean, I would start doing what you're doing. What you need and what worked for me was finding the one person who would engage with me, and then other people would see us engaging in the elevator or in the lobby. And then so it's like a slow ripple. It took me many, many years, but it also could be like, are you a good baker? Are you, no, I know neither am I. Are you, I don't know, if there's something that like you could drop off, saying to your next door neighbor, I'm heading to Costco. Is there something I could pick up for you? Kind of normalizing this reliance, like as though it's just the most normal thing in the world, and kind of testing the waters that way.
gotcha. Thank you
But
so
I
much.
think you just need one person to start the ripple.
I worked on probably one of the toughest people to get a hold of. He's a prior veteran and he's kind of dealt with some stuff, but he's a prior Air Force and Coast Guard, and he had a sign on his door that said Coast Guard. And I'm a skateboarder,
Hmm.
and I found a Coast Guard skateboard and I gave it to him for Christmas. Just left it with a note saying, "Hey, thanks from 313." And
Oh,
he actually came by and like with tears, and it really kind of jacked both of us up for a moment. But it was like now we actually talk to each other, like when we see each other. It was like that, just finding a moment to kind of interject and find something that related to him. So
I love that. And like now, if you
Breakthrough
read
moment.
something in the paper, you can
Mhm.
clip it and slip it under his door. This made me think of you. Those kinds of things. I
Those
love
are breakthrough moments. Yeah,
breakthrough moments. Mm,
absolutely. How about or Vanessa mentions, a block or building party in a common area, or
exactly.
the out and about movement, which is just once a month, the first Sunday night of every month, just being out and about. So either taking a walk around your neighborhood or complex, or sitting out with a lawn chair and a cooler and engaging people as they come by. It kind of becomes a habit. It can become a habit, a gathering place. I see Christine. Christine has her hand up. I'm so sorry. There, I coughed.
No, you're good. Thank you. Yeah, I was thinking and listening to this. So I'm with our local Habitat for Humanity affiliate. I'm the executive director here. And so we do a lot of like volunteer and donor thank yous that don't really feel like they're getting to what you're speaking about, which is like the mattering piece. And even just thinking just thinking in terms of like how we're building community and building sort of this housing justice movement, like creating opportunities for people to really know that they matter. And so I'm not sure if I have a question, but I guess that was just sort of like the framework I'm looking at this of like, oh, okay, this is really important if we want people to be authentically part of what we're doing to make sure that they understand they matter. And I love that visual that you and the other attendee, Patty, shared about like approaching everyone as though they're saying like, tell me how I matter, tell me how I'm valued. So
Mhm.
thank you.
And it's in specifics.
Yeah,
So it's in the small details. It's in the small connecting the dots of the impact.
I love that. Thank you.
That's one of the things I loved about the book, is learning about the subject and just causing me to think about how does it fit with existing frameworks, right? Things that I'm already existing doing. Not that I necessarily have an answer for you yet, Christine, but even in thinking through that, I think you'll see some ways that it connects.
It's like a lens. I think of
Yeah,
mentoring as a lens, not another thing to do, but a lens with which to look at your to-do list.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what I love about it too. It's not because it felt like some of the stuff we were doing are like on a to-do list. Like, okay, we got to send the thank yous, we got to do that. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like it, and so switching the perspective is really helpful. Thanks.
Rachel has a good comment in the
Maybe
chat.
even, oh,
A question. Did you see? I work in local government with a very disengaged community because they feel, what's the point? No one listens to me. Uh, what are some simple ways to show that they do matter and create change in their neighborhoods?
I think it's storytelling, telling stories about the neighborhood. One thing I had an idea for Christine is what if you had volunteers writing individualized thank you notes to donors? And so in other words, it's like a 360 it's not development that has to then generate. It's actually another volunteer And I have a story in the book of how thank you notes factor so big into this nonprofit in Massachusetts that I spent time with. But that's just an idea. And so with with the disengaged community, I think it's finding just a few small stories and showing the ripple effect of, just the skateboard story, things like that, how it starts in the smallest of moments and builds out. It's hard. I'm not saying it's not, I'm not saying it's easy. It's not easy work,
I
but
have
it you can start
a
with one.
story about
Yeah.
that. And something that just happened in our city. We're probably living in the same type of time as everybody else, and nobody trusts the elected officials and things like that. We had a man who got cited from the city because he had a massive cleanup project that needed to be done in his yard, and there was no way he was going to be able to do it. And it caused him to get an FTA warrant on him because he didn't show
Oh,
up to court when the city cited him. So a small business owner in the city heard about what was happening and reached out to a friend of his that owned a big dumpster and said, "Can you just come and help me clean up this man's yard?" Because he didn't have transportation. He had just lost both of his parents and, going through a lot that the city doesn't have the capacity to take the time to learn. So when that movement started, it got one of the city council members that was not over that ward to reach out to say, "Tell me what the real story is since your boots on the ground." And the homeowner told him what was happening. And the guy goes, "Well, let me check and see if I can take care of that warrant," because he happened to work for the county judge, and he did. So while we were there cleaning up the house, we had another community person that says, "Well, I know a contact with the church up here, so let's get him on the Meals for Wheels program." And it turned into something so magical to watch the people that were coming together. And then even the city, they were bound by laws and policies and ordinances and stuff like that. But he took himself away from that title and became a human. And it was so beautiful. And because of that, the naysayers in the community have been able to see that small step that one guy has taken, to be fully transparent and to be a part of the community. And you could automatically see the trust has started, just because of him taking that title off and being with the community. It's been pretty cool to watch.
What you talk about is something I talk in the book about, the importance of finding genuine needs in the community. If you have a community that's not feeling cohesive or disengaged, find a need. That's what you're starting with. Find a need and then help them use their time, talent, or treasure to meet that need.
Love it.
And there are young people, there are so many needs right now, so many needs. Yeah,
I think, and then take some time to celebrate that. Tell the stories because
Absolutely.
you get more of what you celebrate.
exactly.
And so we do that with Missouri Good Neighbor Week. We get nominations and people are, named as outstanding neighbors, but we celebrate that through stories because you get more of what you celebrate. So
Yep.
these are
That's
all great,
awesome.
great examples. Jennifer, anything else to close us out? I know that you have another Zoom coming up, I think, right after this one. So I'll be a good
Yeah.
steward of your time and appreciate you join us so much. And then I'll have an announcement about 3 people that have won a copy of your book by joining us today. So Jennifer, anything you'd like to
Just that
say
if
to the folks?
mattering is of interest, you could head over to my website, sign up for a newsletter. It goes out once a month. And I also have something called Mattering Ambassadors, a program that I am launching to sort of similar to what you guys are doing, just to get stories from, success stories and things people are trying from all different corners of the world. So thank you for your interest and for all you do. It was so thrilling to be involved. Thank you guys
Well,
for
we'll stay
inviting me in.
connected and stay involved. Yeah, visit our website and sign up for that. That'd be great. And I just want to let you know of the live attendees today. AI helped me pick those 3 recipients of the book, so you can't blame me.
Mhm.
AI says it's Laura Mize, Gary Teppenkamp, and Vanessa Ellis. And so you'll be getting a copy of Jennifer's book uh, sent to you in the mail. All right, as a thank you for being on here live. So thanks for joining us, Jennifer. Outstanding book. Best of luck to you.
What
Hope
is the
the momentum keeps
website?
going.
Okay, what's the website?
Yeah.
JenniferBWallace.com.
JenniferBWallace.com.
David,
Capital
I already have a book, David. Give mine to somebody else.
Oh, okay. Well, now you're going to make me ask chat to give me one more name, um, uh, which I can do, but it's an excellent read. And of course, if for those in the class, over 1,000 that are in the class that weren't on today, we'll get you the video. Elizabeth Mc, uh, McGinley, is that right? McGinley? Elizabeth, you may need to message me in
Yes.
chat. Yeah, you may need to message me in chat your address to make sure I've uh,
Oh, thank you
got
so
it.
much. I'm so excited.
how
Yeah,
exciting.
just drop your address in chat. You can send it to me personally, and I'll get you a copy of the book. All right, we'll bring the recording to an end here too.
Thanks, everybody.